Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. And I don't have a lot of time to take with this one. First, again, let me give thanks to those who supported me on the Cash App yesterday during my live. From the bottom of my black heart and from the depth of my black mind. Some of you that didn't catch the live stream may not know that I recently became a business owner. I expect this to take about 8 months to start turning a profit. But at least I am now a business owner. And this is in a location. It's in a tropical location. And whatever anyone does send will go towards that, either a business related expense or towards computer equipment to make the channel better. So maybe an editor as an example. But I wanted to state this about this is not really part two, but this has to do with the live stream. When I talked about in my live stream how we can free the minds of the simps by telling them the right things in the right way, if their minds are just trapped, as opposed to them just really wanting to simp and having, legitimately having problems with guys. There's some guys like that, but I don't understand that mindset. They know that they're males because they were made to be, and that's it. So I don't understand the mindset of a man that really just has issues with guys being guys, but nonetheless, apparently that does exist. And so I wanted to differentiate between those. And so with that being said, I went ahead intentionally to record that and explain that many guys that are simps because of what they don't know. They don't know that their lack of success with women is not their fault. Most men aren't successful with women by any imaginative stretch of a definition of such. Most men aren't. But a lot of men think that they're worse off or that they're doing worse with women than other guys, not realizing most other guys are doing about as badly as they are. The manosphere in general and red pill spaces online have lifted the cover off of that fallacy partially, but not completely. The statistics have lifted the cover off, but there are guys walking around that they're not reading those things. They still only know what they know from before. That, if you're a real man, you're there for women, and that's it. And that's all they know. And don't question women, and women are victims. And so because they're not fully exposed to these spaces, they don't know the statistics. And when they finally get exposed through the reactions of these women or some other simp or gynocrat goon, they really think that this space is anti-women. But when you tell them, listen, this is not your fault. You did not know this because this was a conspiracy to keep this information from you, me, and most of the guys. And the only guys that were going to be lucky to run through a bunch of women were going to be the ones that just for whatever reason, instinctive or luck, did not fall for these lies, that they didn't fall for the conspiracy. And therefore the women would say, oh, I like him. I'm going to reward him with the vagina. Look, the problem with the paradigm is that it's still there. The paradigm of the 1990s is still extant amongst too many of us, and apparently amongst too many of us in the red pill space, the black manosphere. I'm talking about you cats that sit up here and point fingers at Alan Edward Anderson and call him 9AY. Now, I don't know the names of all that do it. I'm going to get them. Or rather, I should say I'm going to memorize them, because I've heard some of the names and I keep forgetting them because they run together in my head, and I'm busy with a bunch of other stuff, as y'all know. But when I get the names memorized, I'm coming for y'all. Not because you may have a different opinion than him, but for slander. See, when it came to Mr. Samuel, some people said, well, you know, he's like that. And if somebody had inside knowledge, fine. If somebody really believed it, I would say, well, you probably believe things too easily. But you know what? He did have mannerisms that were effete. I mean, there were cats in Morehouse that had these mannerisms, and they were not into men. There were guys like that in Morehouse. And they did not have an interest in other men. But there were also guys that they swaggered. And some of the male professors would say, watch out for this guy and that dude, because they're into men. They offered the butt for some grades. So I had to learn something about that. I had to learn that there are guys who they got these soft mannerisms, but they're not into dudes. Sounds like I'm making an excuse, but in fact, there was a time I didn't know that. I had to learn. And I learned by futting the shuck up and watching before jumping to a conclusion. And we black men love, and I'm talking about black men in general, manosphere or not. We love to sit up and say, oh yeah, I know this, that, and the other when we don't know. And we love to talk in absolutes. I don't care what somebody, If you observe, you will find out which phenomena have no exceptions and which ones don't. But we love to jump to conclusions before observing recurrence of a pattern and talk in absolutes before that observation. So some people really don't know that they're cats with soft manners, but they're actually not interested in other men. Because I had seen it at Morehouse and later just in Atlanta in general. I didn't see it in my hometown. I could recognize this in Kevin. And I even said, before Kevin started talking to the women and telling them what they needed to know, I even said to Kevin, before you say anything to men, Mr. Samuels, understand that you are open to attack. Even if you are not into dudes, you are open to attack from guys who are going to say, yeah, you into dudes, and it's going to be believable. You might not want to sit up here and just talk down to the men. Kevin had that. Before he became the Kevin we remember towards the end of his life, he was one of them cats that was talking down to dudes. It's not because of what he told. It's not the information that he told the guys who made him wrong. It was the fact that he told these men as though they were supposed to know things that were intentionally kept from them. We still have that paradigm in the black community. And it's some of you are coming from the streets to the black manosphere, and you want to keep that same paradigm where you talk down to the dude that knows less about women than you do. Stop it. Because we don't need you niggas. And I wouldn't even use that word just loosely because you're black. No, it's because of your mindset. As y'all know, I don't sit up and call somebody the N-word, hard or not. I don't call somebody the N-word based on a DNA sequence. Y'all know that because I done told y'all these Arabs is niggas too. The better ones, I mean. I told y'all about that. It's some of the original niggas. They been stubborn, hard-headed, backwards, anti-progressive. Think they know everything. You can't tell them nothing. They been that way. I've been told y'all that. We can't free the minds of simps if we sitting up here bickering and arguing over street values versus non-street values. If you were in here arguing to promote street values, you still are promoting some gynocentric BS and dysfunction because sisters love that. That's all they want. That boy Will just now talked about and uploaded a video from some chick from Chicago but going to school in Mississippi. Followed a rapper on Instagram or whatever. Like she was one that she talked like that. So that tells me what part of the problem is. And she got with this dude, and she found out that he and she knew some of the same people. She met his family and all that, and found out that he did not grow up in the trenches. Should he have depicted that? No, he shouldn't. But the reason that he would have depicted this in his raps is real simple. He depicted that in his raps because the community is just like this chick. Now, she wants to make it seem like the issue was he lied. That wasn't the issue to her. The issue was he ain't from the trenches. That's all it was. She ain't interested in a guy that ain't from the trenches. That boy Will went on to talk about St. Augustine High School in New Orleans. And I know because there are people who transfer in between St. Augustine and another school up the highway in Baton Rouge called Southern Lab. See, along the Gulf Coast, you only got a few schools that are all black and they're not public. A few of them. Louisiana's got this funny system, and everybody knows Louisiana's strange like that. That boy Will tell you. I'm not dissing Louisiana per se. You can ask him. You have you got three school systems there. You got public and private, and then your public universities have K through 12s associated with them called lab schools. Southern Lab is one of them. Y'all heard of Southern University. Dennis Sperling went there. They have a K through 12 attached to them. LSU has the same thing. Gramblin's got the same thing. They're called lab schools. K through 12. Southern Lab has that. So if somebody from Baton Rouge moves to New Orleans or vice versa, and they were at Southern Lab, they go to St. Aug. Or if they were at St. Aug, they go to Southern Lab. Usually, I mean, it's not a law as far as I know. Then again, like I said, it's Louisiana. Maybe I could ask somebody from there that knows. But, you know, along that Gulf Coast, you only got a few schools that are all black and they not public. So you can easily hear about them if you're there, if you live there long enough. And I know St. Aug and Southern Lab have a problem. My school was like that. Had the same thing. It was the same pattern. You ain't hood. So what you do is you got to act like you hood. You got to be a chest thumping stereotype jigaboo to get by. And it really ain't just because of dudes. Dudes will dap you up. But honestly, you know what? Dudes could dap you up if you ain't like that, as long as you ain't chasing no broads. It's the sisters that are going to uphold that mess. They do not tolerate that. You don't get to be a non-stereotype guy. And if you're smart, then you got to be twice as quick to fight because you studied. And some of you dudes are still upholding that paradigm. You just coming into the black manosphere to do it. And you think you haven't fully gotten rid of that. You have to fully get rid of that. I told you it's the Malcolm X standard. It ain't the Taz standard up in here. It's Malcolm X. You get literate. You become exactly what your boys back then would have called the nerd. You got to become what black women look down on. Western black women look down on and consider to be nerdy. If you don't become something like that, fut the shuck up. Why? What's the reason I say that? I didn't qualify to be a nerd. So it can't be that. I wasn't smart enough. Now, I was thought to be one by people that first met me because, you know, it was really just the phenotype. But now I'm seeing that same stupidity play out amongst us as adults in the black manosphere. Folks sitting up talking about Edward 9AY. How? Oh, because he light-skinned. And his voice is high, which is largely from having to overtalk people in a customer service environment. I had the same thing. I just got out of it. It does change your voice. I left. As soon as I could. It took a while, but as soon as I could, I left. He's in it. He moved up in it fast enough. But I'm telling you though, This is something you do. You only say something like that and call someone 9AY when you got evidence, if not proof, of that person being interested in the same gender. Not just that they ain't hood swaggering, stereotype, chest thumping. That's not how we do this. We're too old for that. And we ain't seen Edward show soft mannerisms, flipping his hands, rolling his neck. None of that stuff. We ain't seen him do that. He's just light-skinned with a high voice. Not a woman's voice either. Just a loud voice of a male. And some cats are sitting up here pointing fingers at him and then making an accusation that doesn't have substantiation to it. Now, if somebody has seen Mr. Anderson pursue a guy or reciprocate a man's pursuit of him, then bring that forward. And as a matter of fact, the nice thing to do would be to ask Edward first. Hey man, is you? Somebody else. That'd be the nice thing to do, but bring that forward instead of just telling us to sit up and believe that he's 9AY because he light-skinned. Hell, I'm lighter than him. Now you see why I'd be stupid to show my face. One, I try to keep my intentions sincere by not going for fame or notoriety. But the other thing too is, let's be honest. If I'm lighter than him and I grow less facial hair than he does, then how much time would I have to spend talking about some I ain't 9AY? Despite the fact that there is no proof. There actually is a dude, a doppelganger of me in Atlanta in the AUC. This dude apparently was running through chicks, making them mad. I got to deal with the blowback from that. Now, what if this dude had also been running around with some dudes too? What if he had done something like that? I'd have never been able to say it wasn't me. As it was, this dude actually bothered, and her, not so much sexually, but this dude actually bothered Bill Cosby's daughter. And they were going to blame me for that. And I never met this dude. See, in the black community, a lot of people get blamed for stuff they didn't do. That's like the norm. That's part of why we walk around with so much guilt. That's why I said that we got to tell simps, it ain't your fault. So I'm saying now, though I have not memorized the names of who it is, when I do, I'm coming for y'all that are sitting up here, not for disagreeing with Edward Anderson, but for those of you that have called him names or accused him of something and ain't no substantiation for it, go on for y'all. He's not going to hear this. So this is not scoring points with him. This is just the right thing to do. And I happen to know about this situation. And it's what I talked about less than 12 hours ago. On my last live stream, trying to liberate the minds of simps. Apparently, a lot of dudes in the black manosphere have minds that ain't fully been liberated. And they in the black man, or they're manosphere adjacent. Because you still trying to bring in street values. You trying to bring in a swagger. We don't need it. Manhood is enough. Machismo ain't necessary. We ain't with that. Because doing stuff like that, resorting to that, is the same thing as what some of these high Bristol maniac hyena bitches do when they sit up and say, my date ordered salad, that's 9AY, I ain't gonna see him no more. He ordered water with his meal, I ain't gonna see him no more. Girl, these men soft, stuff like that. I told you before you know it, they're going to say stuff like, girl, my man showed up. This dude showed up for the date walking on 2 legs. Real men walk on their knuckles. We're going to that point. It's the same mindset behind sitting up here and saying that someone is 9AY because he got a high voice and he light skinned. Same idea, same mindset. That's why I said it's the Malcolm X standard here. The hyenocracy is the one that tries to sexually enforce against the Malcolm X standard. That's why you need it. You can, yeah, see, you can go into the pen and you can come out and you a cell block preacher, but you still can't spell, you mispronouncing words. And some of y'all are gonna say, wait a minute, some people that are on your side, black, they do that too. Yeah, I can talk to them about that privately. Make jokes about it. But point I'm making is that you can go into a cell block and then become a cell block preacher. And then you can come out the cell block with the tattoos and you still swaggering, and you can try to meet the task standard of reformed street preacher. And some broads will still validate you at least. I mean, they at least will not knock you, or they at least won't knock whatever woman does pick you. They'll do that. But if you come out like Malcolm X, then women don't look your way no more. No matter how many you were running through before, now you come out like Malcolm X. You don't have the affectations of the former criminal and the convict. You don't come out with that air and that scent and that sound, and they overlook you. And these dudes know that, so they don't understand. You cats don't understand that that's exactly the way to go, because these hyena broads don't like it. You're still thinking that they're right somehow. I've lived abroad. I'm telling you, there's nothing right about them. You need to understand that. You are still using the standards of the worst woman on the planet by which to judge other men that are trying to wake up and liberate the minds of other men, which is what you claim to want to do. And you'll sit up and talk about, man, these be words. I know, man, because I done effed them on the mattress while they babies over on the other side of the mattress sleep. You can sit up and say this, but what you're pretty much saying is that her validation matters. You're still saying that. You still have not reached the point of understanding that when you do not succeed with these broads, it ain't your fault. It's because of something you did right, not something you did wrong. You still ain't reached that level of understanding. Go back and do more homework, bruh. Before you preach, y'all need to do some more reading. Y'all need to shuck up and learn. Take your notebooks and your pencils out. Quit trying to teach us anything. I hope this message helps. Thanks for listening. And hit the Cash App on your way out of the jet black aircraft. Assalamu alaikum.